Okay, let me see. We are on day 9 on finishing things. Okay, so honestly, I felt like this book and this chapter really, I didn't know how much I needed it. When I first read it, I was like, yeah. But then I was like, oh my God, did you just like do a year's work of therapy for me in like 2.5 pages? Basically, this chapter is all about the importance of taking steps to finish things. And one of the quotes he writes is, completion replenishes energy rather than using it up. And then he goes on to write about perfectionists. And he was like, perfectionists love to begin new endeavors because the moment of starting belongs to the world of limitlessness. So it's like, oh my God, like this project could do this and end here and end here and end here and end here. And he writes, because when you're starting something, there's still the possibility to believe that the end result might match the ideal in your mind. However, he goes on to say, by contrast, when you finish something, that means that you have been slogging your way through the mess and imperfect reality of what that project actually became. And I was like, am I a perfectionist? And I'm like, whether I am or not, I definitely have perfectionist tendencies. For those of you who know the Enneagram, my mom is an Enneagram 1, which is literally known as a perfectionist. So I was raised by a perfectionist. So I feel like I probably may have taken some tendencies from a perfectionist mother. We love you. Shout out to you. I love you. I love you, Mom. But it made me realize 2 things I'm going to talk about today. One, back when I was in Brazil, shout out to Cachoeira. I love you. Te amo. Long story short, I started to be like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And I was getting caught up in like, I need to figure out the purpose of my life and blah, blah, blah. I reached out to 2 homies because I was thinking about starting a nonprofit, but then I needed to start a board. So I reached out to 2 homies and we started meeting regularly. And when I tell you all, the first 2 weeks that we met, we were meeting weekly for like an hour to an hour and a half. And I was like, oh my God, like, I think I figured out, like, the rest of my life. Like, I don't know where I'm going, but this is, like, so exciting. And, like, we were creating plans and we were creating to-do lists. We were creating a website. The website was coming together. I'm like, not me about to have my own website. Like, this is really going to happen. Like, I didn't know where it was going, but, like, it was really exciting. And I just could, like, see that, like, oh, maybe, like, I have figured out my life. Like, I'm going to be able to figure out my life. Which, remember, from the other episode, we don't like that phrase. But at the time, I was like, yes! And then, y'all, week 3, we met together as a team, and, like, it was rough. It was rough. Like, I felt defeated. I felt like my team members, I loved them, and they were asking me really good questions, and I didn't have good answers for them, and I felt like my life was a mess, and then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, like, actually, is there no vision behind this? We don't even have a vision and a mission, or I keep changing the vision and the mission, and I left that meeting feeling really discouraged because it was really hard. It wasn't fun. Like, the last 2 meetings, I felt like I was on cloud 9. Like, I felt like I was flying. It was giving just you and I defying gravity. La, la. Anyways, I felt like I was defying gravity weeks 1 and 2 with my team. And then week 3, it was giving I had fallen to the pits of the pits. And I remember talking to one of my teammates, who's also a really good friend of mine, and I was like, bro, today was not fun. It was hard. And thank God for this man, because he was like, yeah, it wasn't a fun meeting. It was hard. And also, like, that's a part of the process. And I really appreciate him, because I really just wanted to, like, give up, stop, and be like, well, I guess this isn't it. I made a mistake again, and just not. And so I'm realizing, like, yeah, I really want to do better at being able to embrace when things aren't always cloud 9, fun. I have to, like, yeah, like, I might feel tired at the end of the day, you know? And, like, that's a part of being human. And all of this leads me to the second and final point, which, instead of just going off the dome, which will lead to another 10 minutes of this video, I'm just going to read what I wrote in my journal. So I started off with the second quote that the author wrote, which was, we fail to realize that, and then he's quoting another person who I will write in the comments who said this. Every worthwhile goal is supposed to feel hard, unglamorous, and unsexy, unquote. And then Oliver goes on to say, at least for some of the time you're putting in the work. And this is what I wrote. I said, that's honestly what I was coming to realize when I was living in Cachoeira, Brazil. And that was why I decided to stay. Because I was starting to feel like, wait, oh my gosh, I'm in my third language. This cultural context is different. I was having some interactions with like some community members, and I was like, oh no, will I never understand, and will they never understand me, and blah, 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 blah. And so I go on in my journal to say, no matter where I go or choose, I will always be wrestling with the questions of home, belonging, vocation, purpose. And so leaving and trying to find a new quote-unquote home was not going to do anything but recreate or recycle through the process. And I would end up in the same internal battle, wondering about, community, feeling seen, feeling known, feeling like I really found my home. And I would just be doing it in a new physical, geographical location. And that was something that really, really, really just stuck with me, which is why I was like, you know what? Instead of deciding to pack up my stuff and run and try to find a new place, I had already been in like 6 different countries, blah, 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 blah. Why don't I just stay? And then it was wild because when I decided to stay was when, June 17 events happened and it was no longer a possibility for me to stay. And so here I am back in the United States trying to figure it out. And also what I ended with, and this was my little prayer to myself and to you. So here's to embracing and not being scared of or freaked out by the unglamorous, not so fun, and sometimes really hard parts of life. Here's to not seeing the difficulties as a sign to quit out of fear of burnout, but realize by doing all I can to desperately avoid burnout, I'm actually going to arrive at the very thing I didn't want, which is burnout itself. Because then I end up burning myself out by constantly starting an infinite number of tasks and projects and never finishing them. Which goes back to the quote I started this off with, which was completion replenishes energy rather than using it up. And so I'm realizing that if we honestly go back to 2017, 2018, when I had severe burnout, and that's when the first time I found therapy. Shout out to Allie. I love you, girl. From that moment on, I didn't realize I had internalized and had an embodied fear of being exhausted to the point of no return, and life got really dark. So I just internalized that, like, as soon as something gets hard or difficult or not fun, it's a sign of, like, point of no return, and it's going to be terrible and toxic, and I'm going to go into a dark place again. And I didn't realize, though, especially because, so the last time that I'd, like, said yes to doing the work, and it got me into, like, a toxic work environment was in 2021. And in 2022 was when I left the United States. And so for the last 3 years, I have just been like, I want joy in my life, and I'm unashamedly, unabashedly seeking joy. I'm a seeker of joy. To a point, though, of, like, anything that's not, like, easy, because my life has been hard. At that point, right, my life had been hard for, what's the math, like 27, 28 years. And so I was like, I need a moment. And that moment turned into 3 years. But you know what? It was still really hard. And I had really, like, dark, hard moments, even amidst, like, the 3 years of seeking joy and experiencing joy. And so I didn't realize, especially these past 3 years, reflecting, like, especially last year. This time last year, I was exhausted and I was burnt out because I didn't have stability in my life in the form of a home, in a form of community. I was literally living out of a book bag for 3 years. And every 2 to 3 months, I would have to pack up my entire life into a book bag and put 40 pounds, well, that's a little exaggerated, like 25 to 30 pounds of my life on my back and sleep on people's couches. I didn't have a key. Living in Airbnbs, you know, and it's beautiful and amazing and fun and joyful. And also it was leading me to burnout, which was why I made the commitment to Brazil. And, yeah, I'm just realizing, again, I love you, Oliver Berkman. I love this book, Meditation. I mean, I don't know you, so maybe I can't say I love you, Oliver Berkman, but I love this book because it's just giving words for all of these lessons I've learned over the past 3 years. And it's just that, like, oh, wow. Sometimes the very thing we are so scared of becoming, when we become so desperate and make every action of our life and every decision based off of trying to not become that thing, we become that very thing. And so I'm realizing, like, for the past 7 years, and in particular the past 3 years, I was so afraid of becoming burnt out again that I was doing everything to avoid that, and I actually ended up in a very similar space. And so this is a very basic thing, right? I think that's the thing about this book. Like, Oliver ain't saying nothing wild. He's saying things that we all know. He just writing it down in a book for us to read all in a way, and it's hitting, you know? And so it's not new information that, like, sometimes the things that are worthwhile in life, sometimes the things that give us incredible joy and meaning and fill us up are also really hard. And listen, the way that I feel like you can use this book and make it also applicable to relationships, particularly romantic relationships, because I'm like, it's giving like what I have been doing in relationships the past 3 years of, like, I just want fun, because I've been in relationships that were, like, great and beautiful and amazing, and also, like, really difficult and hard, and didn't end up well, you know? And I've, like, said yes to things for long periods of time, and then I end up just not being happy. And so then I get fear of, like, any time that something is, like, not perfect and not super fun, then I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna head out. Bye. Yeah. And so I'm realizing, like, yeah, maybe homegirl's ready for a serious relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's gonna be messy and hard and all the things. And I think it's just, like, trusting in ourselves, trusting in myself, that I know how to make good decisions, and that I never am trapped. I never have to do anything. And so if things get to a place where it really, like, exactly what happened in Brazil, when it was like, Nia, like, your life, like, it is not safe for your life right now, I can leave, you know? I can leave. And so I can know there's, like, a difference between, like, girl, this is really unsafe for you, and also this is really hard and uncomfortable and not fun. And there's a difference between, shout out to my homies yesterday. They were saying that a sermon that the church had this past Sunday was like, there's a difference between feeling unsafe and feeling uncomfortable. And that's what I think I want to live into and embrace more of, that difference of, like, just because I feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean I have to leave a situation. When I feel unsafe, that's a reason to leave, you know? And I think, yeah, I'm just grateful for all of these languages and realizations and articulations of things that I have learned through embodied experiences over the last 3 years. And now just to, like, have these words and just really internalize them and metabolize them is really exciting. So thank you all for being on this journey. I really thought this episode was going to be, like, 4 minutes long. I'm hoping it's under 10, but we might be around, like, 12 to 15. So anyways, happy Tuesday, and can't wait to see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for meandering.